There is an international movement of intellectuals and activists that is sweeping the internet. It is a phenomenon that has taken over the academic discourse of our best institutions. This phenomenon is, of course, the Liberalist Society. This digital, modern-day Algonquin roundtable of skeptics is the long-anticipated and highly touted brainchild of the modern era's most celebrated cultural icon, Sargon of Akkad. This revolutionary movement all began just a few weeks ago. Everyone is aware of the recent debate hosted by outspoken Holocaust denier and SPLC prank caller Andy Raceworski, in which white nationalist Richard Spencer faced the erudite Sargon of Akkad, de facto leader of the skeptic community, originally a loose association of like-minded individuals who had given up on the idea of ever getting laid. Though many outside of this affiliation believe that Sargon is just one more failed debate away from night manager of a Manchester Waffle House, his supporters remain confident in his performance. According to his acolytes, Sargon, with a wit as subtle as a gay pride parade, deftly BTFO'd Spencer by using his patented anti-SJW debating technique of annoyingly over-enunciating Richard's name. Sounding like the haughty principal in a British schoolgirl spanking video, Sargon espoused such penetrating arguments as, "Richard, are white people even allowed to have tans in the ethno-state, Richard? You don't even know, do you, Richard?" And, "Richard, have you ever even read Locke's second treatise on civil government, Richard?" And of course his irrefutable argument, "Richard, my dad could beat up your dad, Richard, because he's black, Richard." Mentally as nimble as Gene Kelly on a rainy day, and about as relevant as that reference, Sargon wove a coherent argument against the proponents of whiteness. Citing famous 17th and 18th century luminaries, Sargon laid out an unassailable series of postulates in logical progression to counter Spencer, such as his ingenious horseshoe theory, which equivocates the alt-right with SJWs. According to Spencer, however, the thing about horseshoes is that it is usually full of horse shit. Despite his unanimously recognized victory amongst the skeptic community, Sargon did reflect, as above-average intellects are wont to do, on some of the points Spencer introduced into the debate. After much consideration, he felt that the only way to champion his brand of pure individualism was to unilaterally create a litany of vague principles in order to collectively counter these socialist racists. Much like Gautama, who meditated under a tree for 49 straight days before developing the principles of Buddhism, Sargon spent 49 minutes perusing an FEE magazine from 1984 to develop the revolutionary principles of the Liberalist Society. Sargon, publishing his list quicker than Paul Nealon in a kosher deli, soon had the internet's abuzz. The first and foremost of his principles is the dissemination of interracial male butt love porn, otherwise known as the Librafist principle. Participation in and appreciation of such an art form is the natural inclination of the truly independent mind. Other liberalist principles published on the website include the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, and the freedom to practice the religion of your choice, and of course, the complete and utter ban of the Faustian spirit. Sargon also decided to tackle the idea of race realism and man's ethnocentric nature. Delving into his own deeply tanned genealogy, Sargon made an in-depth study of the perfect ethnostate that reflected both his own ancestry and his particular brand of individualism. In his latest video, in which he rebrands himself as Sargon of Wakanda, he is now seriously considering changing the name Liberalist with the more accurate and ethnocentric Liberianist. Despite his long-standing claims of liking chitlins and large-ass white women, some have had the temerity to question Sargon's assertion that he was third from left in the famous dancing scene from 12 Years a Slave. To satisfy his detractors, he agreed to submit a DNA sample for genetic screening. His 23andMe results were quite interesting. 41% showed Northwest European origin, 14% Southern European, 8% Ashkenazi Jew, and the remaining 37% HIV positive. To conclude, the alt-right must come to the stark realization that Sargon's Liberalist Society represents its greatest existential threat since boomer posting. All we have to counteract this cultural force is a return to our roots, a return to what has given us strength in the past, and a vision of what the future can hold. That is, of course, esoteric Jahanism and the oven men who still keep the faith.
Good to have you back.